What's up, guys? My name is Antonio Crespi, CEO of Crespi Tax Group, and I'm here on the Sustainable Solar Podcast.
All right, welcome back to the Sustainable Solar Podcast with our guest, Mr. Crespi. Once again, thanks for being on. And we want to shift gears a little bit and talk a little bit about basically how homeowners qualify from the tax standpoint and how they, are able to take advantage of tax incentives and things of that nature.
Of course. So when it comes to solar or when it comes to just energy efficiency, I have a somewhat of a background in it. My mom actually worked for PSEG Long Island for 30 years. Okay. Well, it was actually originally Locos. It was a light company. Okay. And it went to Keyspan, and then PSEG Long Island actually bought them out. So she worked for PSEG Long Island. She retired from it. So she's been in like the energy efficiency. She was on the energy efficiency team actually at PSEG Long Island. Okay. So it's kind of funny that I told her I was going on the solar podcast, and she's like, man, that's right up my alley, because that is right up her alley. So, I mean, when she was working there, she was really on the first teams where they were talking about solar panels. And I mean, this is in I want to say maybe 2005, really early. Back then, PSEG Long Island actually offered a rebate for people who signed on to solar in the beginning stages. They don't currently, at least in Long Island, they don't anymore. They don't currently offer that rebate anymore because it's becoming more popular, right? Solar panels are becoming more popular. There's a lot of people who come to me and they have that solar panel paperwork, and they're able to take advantage of the credit. So I say all that just to say it's becoming a lot more popular, and people are taking advantage of the tax credits a lot more, which is awesome. That's my job as an accountant or as a tax professional, is to make sure that you are getting are taking advantage of the tax code to its fullest extent. And by taking advantage of solar panels, you are taking advantage of that tax code to the fullest extent. So when it comes to someone who comes to me and they're like, hey, listen, I got solar panels this year. What do I need? What do I need to bring to you? What documentation do you need? So it kind of depends. So that's kind of like the business answer I like to give it. It depends. So from there's two avenues, obviously, that you can go the financing route, you can go the leasing route. So when it comes to the financing route, right, there's documentation that you receive, and you'll be able to take advantage of the tax credit in your tax return, both on the federal side and on the state side as well, depending on what state that you're living in. And of course, what counties you're living in as well, in New York State specifically. So there are different tax credits that you'll be able to take advantage of at a high level. And this is something that is, it's top of mind just because it's relevant for this year. So currently, you're able to get a 26% tax credit on qualifying expenses when it comes to implementing solar panels specifically. That's actually going to decrease at the end of this year, and it's going to drop from 26% to 22%. Originally, I believe it was 30%, and that changed in 2020, I believe, is when it made the transition over from 30% to 26%, and then it's going to phase down to 22% after 2022. So there's a lot of people who come to me and they're saying, hey, listen, I want to take advantage of this. Should I do it now? How's it going to work? When I file my taxes next year, is it going to benefit me? And again, it kind of comes down to that. It depends, right? Because I don't ever want to put somebody in a financial strain just to receive a tax credit, right? If it doesn't make sense for you right now to take advantage of that from a financing perspective, then don't put yourself in that hole, right? But if you can take advantage of it, it could make a difference of thousands of dollars, if you're being honest, from a 26% to 22% back into your pocket, or saving you money on your IRS bill at the end of the year if you implement it now as opposed to next year. So it really does depend, right? But that's why we have these tax planning sessions with them, to make sure I say, listen, what works best for you financially, so that we can put them in obviously the best financial situation so that they're able to take advantage of these credits for sure.
Awesome. So yeah, that was some great information, about tax credits, right? And I have a few more questions, obviously. I want to know if you can explain to our audience exactly how a homeowner qualifies for solar credit.
For sure. Yeah. So there's a lot that goes into it. It could be it could be a little complicated. Okay. So I know we talked about it before, but I'm going to be able to provide you guys with some type of informational video to show different scenarios, right? Absolutely. Because it isn't black and white, right? Mm-hmm. It is definitely a gray area, but a lot of people do qualify for it, and they don't even realize that they qualify for it as well. So, I mean, first things first, being able to have a company like you where you guys can have that consultation and even just put them in the best situation from a solar perspective is essential when it comes to moving forward with solar panels from a financial perspective and a tax perspective as well. So when you dive into tax perspective and what qualifies you, there's a lot of different things that go into it. So I'll kind of go into the different factors, and you'll see kind of what each customer benefits from or what makes sense for them as well. So how you're filing, your filing status is something that's important as well. Whether you're filing single, whether you're filing married, filing separate, whether you're filing married, filing jointly, all these things kind of are factors into if you're qualifying for certain things or not, right? Normally, when you are married and you're filing married, filing separate, there are benefits and tax credits, not just solar, but there's credits and deductions you're not able to take advantage of as opposed to filing jointly or filing single. So that's something that you have to think about. Having dependents is something that's important as well. Obviously, people want to take advantage of the biggest refund as possible, right? You want to have money coming back into your pocket. So that's something that is going to be a factor into what your refund is going to look like, in addition to the certain credit that you're going to be able to receive from a tax perspective as well. And then income as well. Income is something that's big as well, right? Whether you're making $15,000 a year, you're making $200,000 a year, right? All these different kind of things that I just mentioned, kind of all formulated together, kind of depends on if you are able to qualify for certain things or not. So again, I want to provide different scenarios and actually show you and break down in the actual tax software that I use. This is what I use and I do for and have these different tax planning sessions with a lot of my clients, a lot of my business owners, but a lot of my W-2 clients as well, where I can show you, hey, listen, if you're making this much this year, you have this certain scenario, this is how you're filing with your spouse, you have your child, whatever it might be, this is what it's going to look like and how you're benefiting from the solar tax credit. This is how you're going to look like when you're just getting a refund, what your refund is going to look like based off those specific numbers. So a lot of it goes into it, but it's easily explained once we're able to show you. So I definitely want to be able to provide that information so that you guys can see exactly what scenarios can get you the most of the highest credit or the highest refund when it comes to filing your taxes. But again, there's a lot of things that go into it, but being able to kind of show you is the best way for me to kind of explain it. But it is more obtainable than you think, right? People think that they don't qualify for certain things. You can qualify for a lot of things. You just have to be speaking to the correct people.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I really think our audience would benefit from that greatly.
100%.
Because one thing that happens, unfortunately, is we have clients who come to us after they went solar, and they may have dealt with like a salesperson per se, and they were told some of the wrong information as far as taxes and how they would benefit from their credits. Have you ever experienced that situation?
Yeah. So it's something that is very common, to be completely honest with you. So I have a lot of people who I guess I live in Long Island. So, and we were talking about this before, but Long Island is really, it's money based. And I guess the world is today, right? We especially living in New York, the tri-state area, right? Everything is money based. So people, and I'll get them at my house, they get a knock on the door and it's a solar company and they're looking to offer you solar panels. But they're not sitting down with you having a conversation saying, hey, listen, this is what's your financials, what's your situation. Let's put you in the best situation so that you can benefit from it. Maybe leasing is the best situation for you, but maybe financing it or paying out cash, right, is the best situation for you. But having that conversation isn't being had, right? Right. You're not having that consultation where you're discussing. They're coming in and saying, listen, we put in solar panels in a house down the street last week, and we think you would benefit from it too. That's really the conversation that they're being had. So being able to have that conversation is huge, right? Have that consultation is huge, and making sure that your best interest is the first thing in mind from the solar panel company as well, because of course everyone wants to be successful, everybody wants to make money, but as a customer, and I think about this as an accountant or as a tax professional as well, I'm here for you. Like I work for you to put you in the best situation, right? You're going to come back to me every year because you know I got your best interests at heart. Right. So it's the same situation when it comes to solar panels, right? You want to make sure that you are putting the customer's best interests at heart. And there's a lot of people out there who aren't doing that. Absolutely. Right? They're coming at it, hey, listen, I'm trying to get the biggest commission check possible at the end of the month. Let me do what's best for me, whatever that might be for that solar company. So it's definitely something that is common and that I've seen for sure.
Absolutely. It's funny that you say that because, once again, a lot of salespeople, they just sell, right? And they'll literally tell the homeowner anything for them to actually move forward. Yeah. Here with Sustainable Solar, we are able to have a sustainable business model by consulting with homeowners, giving them all of the information that they need so they can make the best decision for their household. Because solar is a long-term project.
Of course,
right?
Absolutely.
It's a long-term savings. But as you mentioned, we're sustainable because if we can educate them, then they now feel comfortable with us to refer their family, friends, and neighbors. For sure. And that's how we stay in business.
And I mean, exactly. And I mean, I think that I know, and we've had conversations off camera, but I know, what your priorities are and what your mission statement is. And it's more about the community. You know Absolutely. What I mean? Giving back to the community and making sure that everybody is put in the best situation. And I mean, that's really what business should be built off of, right? Making sure that you have their best interests in mind when doing the business. Of course, you're going to get paid for your service, right? That's, nothing is free. But we have to have each other's best interests in mind, because if not, it's just going to be a repeating cycle. Right. Absolutely. It's just going to be a repeating cycle. Right. And if we want to get ahead as minorities in the world, right, that's what we have to do. Absolutely. That's what we have to do, whether it's low income, whether it's the color of our skin, whether it's male, female, whatever it might be. Right. We have to be able to put our best interests forward, because that's how we're going to get ahead in life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So another question that a lot of homeowners may have when actually looking to go solar is, how easy is it for them to actually receive a tax credit or receive?
Yeah. So, I mean, from a tax perspective, when it comes to like your taxes and you're ready to file your taxes, what I need to file your taxes and making sure that you're getting the credit, or at least running the numbers for you, is I need the documentation. So it's everything that's needed. So for a regular worker, it's going to be a W-2. If you purchased your home, so you're going to get a 1098 document from your mortgage lender. That's for mortgage interest, right? It's not directly tied to solar panels, but of course you want to take advantage of that deduction as well, right? Mortgage interest on your home. So that's a documentation that we want to include. We're going to need the solar panel information from whoever you worked with as well. So whether if you're financing it, if you're leasing it, we want to take a look at that documentation that you received to make sure that we can take advantage of the credit. Any other information that you have, right? If you're filing jointly, right? That means that two people are married and they're filing together. They live in the same house. We'll need both married couples' information. If you have a dependent, we need the dependent's information. Any other tax documentation has to all be included so that it can be one lump sum. Because if we're missing information, if you just provide me with the solar panel information and your W-2, but you have a home, you have stocks, you have student loans, you have different things that you're not including, it's going to change what your refund might be and the money that you're getting back. So we need to make sure that all the documentation that you have from a tax perspective is included. That's what I need. That's all that's needed from you is the documentation. Because once you give me the documentation, I can do my work in my software, and we do it with people on hand, and they can actually see how the numbers are manipulated based off the documents that are entered. So that's the key part when it comes to taxes, is making sure you're providing me the correct documentation. And we have a list on our website to show you, hey, listen, we need this, we need this, we need this, so that you are able to provide it all at one time, and then we're able to create your tax return, and you're able to take advantage of it. And then once the tax return is created, we're diving through everything, right? We're saying, hey, listen, you didn't qualify for this because you made this amount of income, or you didn't qualify for this because your filing status. So documentation is the key part when it comes to making sure that you're prepared to file your taxes, especially if you want to take advantage of the solar credit, for sure.
Absolutely. And I know we were speaking earlier about this as well, about the difference between a credit and a deduction. Yes, right? Yes. So we have so many clients who are a little confused about that. For sure. So if you could just add some clarity. For sure. So there is a huge difference between the tax credit and a tax deduction. So best way for me to explain it,
high level, right? A tax credit is money back into your pocket. A tax deduction is going to reduce your taxable income. So I'll dive a little bit more into it. So we're talking specifically about solar panel credit that you're going to be able to take advantage of when you install them for that year. So you're going to be able to take it. Let's just say you installed it this year. You're on the federal side. You're going to be able to take advantage of 26% of qualified expenses for implementing those solar panels. Now that's a credit, right? A solar panel credit. So that means, let's just say the credit is $13,000 that you're going to be getting back into your pocket. That's exactly what a credit is. If you have a bill of, let's say, $10,000, that's going to reduce the bill down to zero and add an additional $3,000 in a refund back into your pocket on the federal side. Now doesn't include the state side as well, whatever state you might live in, because you obviously have to file federal and state taxes. But on the federal side, a credit is money back that you're going to receive. A deduction, on the other hand, let's just say the solar panels was a deduction and not a credit. Mm-hmm. Let's say it was a deduction, and let's just stick with that $13,000 number. So you're not getting that $13,000 back. You're not getting that $3,000 refund that I mentioned before in the previous situation. If you owe $10,000 back to the IRS, now you're going to be able to reduce the income that you made. So if you made $100,000 for the year, and you had a deduction of $13,000, instead of getting that money back into your pocket now, instead of being taxed at $100,000, you're going to be taxed at $87,000, right? Because that $13,000 minus $100,000 gets you to $87,000. Mm-hmm. So that's really the difference. With a deduction, you're not getting the money back into your pocket. You might get an additional refund because you're getting taxed at a lower rate, mm-hmm. right? And it's bringing you down to a lower tax bracket. Right. So you're taking advantage of that. But a credit is actual money in your pocket. You get solar panels, you are getting money back in your pocket from what you forked out. I remember having a conversation with my mother one time, and with all of the credits, the rebates, and this is back when they offered the rebates, like I mentioned earlier in the podcast, mm-hmm. for PSEG, there was some person who only came out of pocket like $5,000 for the entire solar panels that they received. Mm-hmm. Now, $5,000, and they're probably making that return on investment back in under a year, mm-hmm. because they were able to take advantage of all the credits, mm-hmm. and the rebates that were offered back in PSEG. Again, this is back way when they offered those, but it is something that people should absolutely take advantage of. I mean, if you can financially, I would say it's something that is going to be the norm. It's already becoming the norm, mm-hmm. And that people should take advantage of for sure.
Absolutely. And from your point of view, what would you say a homeowner should do as far as looking out to make sure that they receive their solar credit?
Yeah, I mean, the key really is, from my perspective, is who you're working with to install the solar panels, mm-hmm. right? Transparency is key. Making sure that they're providing you accurate information is mm-hmm. key. That company who you're working with to install your solar panels is really, I mean, you come into and you want to sign up for solar panels, you want to install solar panels in your home, you really don't know anything. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're walking into a world where they're going to throw things at you. You think they're speaking a different language. Yep. So being able to work with somebody who can have that conversation, provide accurate information, and then also keep your best interests at heart is something that is like the biggest factor when it comes to taking advantage of the credit and the money back in your pocket. Because if they're telling you misinformation and they're telling you, hey, you may not be able to qualify for this, you should go this route, or whatever it might be, right, you're not being able to take advantage of that credit and get that money back into your pocket. So I think that whoever you're working with, you want to make sure that they are being able to provide value to you and not just take advantage of you.
Absolutely. And as I mentioned earlier, that's something that we specifically focus on here at Sustainable Solar. Consulting with homeowners and really educating them on the benefits. I really feel that once a homeowner is educated the right way, then they'll obviously make the right decision for their house.
Of course.
We don't really need to sell at all.
Of course. Because it's kind of a no-brainer. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, we talked about this again, but I mean, solar panels, it's a long-term investment, mm-hmm. right? You're going to get your return on investment fairly quickly, but I mean, those solar panels are going to be in your house for however long that house is standing, pretty much, right? So, I mean, it is a long-term investment, but you want to be able to go someone, one, who's trusted and who's going to be able to provide that correct information. I mean, if I can have a conversation with you and it's just a consultation and you're telling me all this information, it's like, well, why wouldn't I go forward with this? You know, why wouldn't I go forward with this? It makes sense financially. I'm going to get some money back in my pocket. And it's going to benefit, one, myself, my electric bill every month, and then it's also going to benefit the world as well, right? Being more energy efficient. So, I mean, it is a no-brainer for sure.
Absolutely. And we know in New York City, also New York State, like the tri-state area, some of the incentives are the best around the country.
Oh, of course.
So just from your personal experience, have you had a client who's really, really, really benefited greatly from the incentives?
100%. So I actually, as first person comes to mind, I was filing his taxes and he took advantage of the solar panel credit. Okay. And he actually forgot one of his W-2s, his main W-2s. He had two W-2s, right? He worked two jobs. One was making about $15,000. The other one, he was making the bulk of the money. So he was making about $85,000. So total, he was around $100,000 mark. And he forgot to give me that $85,000 W-2. So we filed his tax return with only the one W-2, and he wasn't he wasn't getting the full credit because of his income. So we he reached out to me after we pushed everything out. We had to do an amended return. So we included his $85,000 W-2, and his refund shot up because of the income that he was making. So it went from him maybe getting like $1,000 to him getting like $12,000 in credit, and again with that amended return. So it's such a big difference. Absolutely. I mean, it's so beneficial to take advantage of it. And again, like I mentioned, for me, it's the documentation. I need everything so that I can actually be accurate with the numbers that we're providing you, and we're pushing out to the IRS, of course. But we don't want to miss anything, because he could have missed out on $11,000 back in his pocket when it comes to the end of the year. So it is important, and I've had people go through that experience this year for sure, and I'm sure it won't be the last time. But again, documentation for me, that's what I need. Give me the correct documentation that I need from you, and not just from the solar panel perspective, right? Really, your whole entire portfolio, just because I need everything to be as accurate as possible so that I can push that out for you and eventually get to the biggest money back in your pocket.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Antonio, wow, man. This is, we've given our audience a lot of value. Definitely appreciate it. And what we're going to do right now is take one more break, and we'll come back to the Sustainable Solar Podcast.
So far I've actually referred my next door neighbor, and then he actually has his system already set up also, and everything has went well. So referral do pay off. So it's really a cool thing to actually help somebody out, and then you receive something. So it was pretty good.
All right, welcome back to the Sustainable Solar Podcast. And as we close out, once again, Antonio, has been great, having you on and really getting the perspective, from the accounting side of how homeowners could take advantage of solar, right? Sure. There's so many homeowners who are out here who really want to go solar, and they hear about the tax credits and all these benefits and have absolutely no idea how it works. Yeah. So thanks for adding so much clarity to that. What would you say to a homeowner actually looking to go solar? Yeah. What would you say?
Yeah, I mean, so what I would say, if I'm having a conversation and they're coming and say, hey, listen, we're thinking about, going solar or buying solar panels. First thing I would say from a financial perspective is, hey, listen, make sure you can do it, right? There are tax benefits that you're going to be able to take advantage of, like I mentioned earlier, right? This year, you'll be able to take it on the federal side. You'll be able to take advantage of 26% of the qualifying cost, and then next year it drops down to 22%. Like it is a big difference. But if you can't financially, if you're going to put yourself in a financial constraint, then you want to be smart financially from making that decision.
Absolutely.
The second thing I would say is make sure you trust the people who you're going with, who's going to be installing the solar, right? That is super important. Like I mentioned before, make sure you have that conversation. To be completely honest with you, I would search around, get quotes from different people, have conversations with different solar panel companies so that you're able to take advantage of it. Because one, by having a conversation with people, you're going to see some people who don't really want to have that consultation with you. And then you're going to see some people who really latch onto it and say, listen, this is what's best for you. And it may not be best for us financially, right? We're not getting the biggest commission from it or the biggest payday, but this is what's best for you. And that's what you should go for. So that is, to me, the biggest thing when it comes to moving forward with really anything, right? You want to be able to trust the person that you are moving forward with financially, even from an accountant's perspective, right? I want you to trust me so that I'm going to get you back the biggest refund or not have you owe the most money back at the end of the year. So I would expect you to do that with everything that you're doing, right? And with something as big as solar panels, right? You want to be able to trust that company as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, I guess this is a more personal question.
Yeah.
But would you actually take advantage of solar yourself?
Yeah. So it is a great question. So I have definitely thought about it. I've thought about it, I want to say, going on the last 3-4 years. And I'm looking at my finances specifically, and I'm like, well, it doesn't make sense for this year. It doesn't make sense for this year. It doesn't make sense for this year. That's me just kind of going through my thought process. But I absolutely would. I mean, I think I mentioned it before, my family has an energy efficient background as well, where they worked for the electric company in Long Island. It is something that I have thought about a lot. And it is something that I will take advantage of, absolutely. And just like you think about it, just like anything energy efficient right now, it is becoming the norm. I mean, everything, you drive down the street and you'll see, 5-6 houses out of 10 houses in Long Island with solar. And they're taking advantage of it. And to be honest with you, I think that's the reason why they're going away with these credits, because the IRS and the government are seeing, hey, a lot of people are taking advantage of this already. And that's the reason why they're getting these big refunds. Well, we don't want to fork out this money anymore because it's become normal now, right? Everybody understands the benefit of it. So what I would say to people is you want to take advantage of it before these credits are no longer.
Absolutely.
And then because once they're no longer, there's no going back. Absolutely. Right? There's no going back. So it is something just to be conscious of when making your decision. But to answer your question, yeah, I definitely want to take advantage of it for sure.
Okay. And to piggyback on what you just said, when do you think the best time to actually go solar is or was?
Yeah, so I mean, it was really nice back when they first came out. That was the best. That was the peak. Like I mentioned for the one example, I mean, there was someone, you were able, at least in Long Island, right, and again, it depends on where you live, you were able to take advantage of a rebate from PSEG, which is the electric company out there. You were able to take advantage of the tax credit, which was at full capacity back then, lower than what it is now, which is 26%. And you were only coming out of pocket maybe after the credits and after the rebate, maybe $5,000-$10,000, which isn't the case nowadays. Now you're obviously able to take advantage of big tax credits, and there are financial factors that you're able to take advantage of the solar panel, but when it first came out, is the people who were innovative and forward thinking, that's when it was the best time to take advantage of the solar panels for sure. I know my parents are regretting it. I know they're regretting it for sure because they worked for the electric company and they didn't take advantage of it. And they knew about all the credits, they knew about all the rebates. But I mean, that's something they can't look back and regret it, but that was definitely the time to do it. But I guess there's really not a bad time to do it anytime. I mean, there's so many benefits, I guess, from even just lowering your electric bill, right? Each month. There are savings, even if you're not able to take advantage of the tax credit. There are savings you'll be able to take advantage of.
Absolutely. So you would say, and I'm just reiterating what you said, the best time to take advantage of it was about 10 years ago, 5 years ago. Second best time is now. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, as the sooner the better, to be completely honest with you. I mean, you want to take advantage. These tax credits from the IRS are going to phase out eventually, right? They're going to be zero. Where you're going to input solar panels, you're not going to be able to get anything back into your pocket. At least from a federal perspective. State by state, it might change and they might stay. But from a federal perspective, they're going to phase out. So if you can financially do it, and if you can't, right, have a conversation with a solar panel expert or a company where you can see if you can financially take on the solar panels, whether it's financing or leasing, and go forward with as quickly as possible so that you can take advantage of these tax credits.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
As from a accountant's perspective, where do you see solar going in the future?
Yeah, I mean, I see it everywhere. To be honest with you, I see solar panel farms. I see, windmill farms. I see it everywhere. That is the future. If you think about it, even like cars, Teslas right now it's the trend, to go electric. Things are changing to benefit the world, and this is one of them. Absolutely. Right? Going with solar panels. So it is something that is here to stay for sure, and I think it's going to be on every house. In the next 10, 15 years, it's going to be on every house.
Absolutely.
I really do. I think that is the future, and I think everybody's going to be taking advantage of it. One, for the cost saving, and then two, for the benefits of the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One thing you mentioned earlier in reference to your mother working for the utility company.
Yeah.
I think most people don't realize, but the more homeowners that go solar, the higher their utility rates actually increase.
Yeah.
Right. So once again, another reason for taking advantage as soon as possible.
For sure.
So from your perspective, what would you think is the biggest reason for a homeowner to take advantage of solar right now?
Yeah. So I guess that I'm gonna say it depends again, right? Because it does depend on their situation. If you're looking to cut down a big tax bill, maybe, and you're a successful business owner, absolutely, and you owe maybe $25,000 each year, you're like looking for something to cut down that bill. I would say that's an investment that you can make. One, you're getting a benefit from a tax perspective. You're getting a benefit by lowering your utility bill, whatever it might be. But also, if you are, let's just say you have a big electric bill each month. And maybe you don't make as much money, and maybe you get a nice refund from a tax perspective, but you're just trying to save some money each month, right? You're going from, I know people with, I know we talked about it earlier, I know some people with all electric houses when their electric bill is $700, $800 a month, and they can lower it to $150, $200 a month. That's a huge saving. Absolutely. Right? And then you may not be from a tax perspective, because let's say you're leasing it or whatever, you don't qualify for that tax credit, but you're still saving a substantial amount each month. So it does depend, but that's why having a conversation with you guys is good, because, right, you can tell me how this is going to benefit me. And if I think that's worth my while, I'm going to go forward with it. And it normally is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Antonio. Definitely appreciate you being on.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Really giving our audience some real key insight on, how they could benefit and take advantage of going solar. From your perspective, that's huge. So I know some of our clients and, our audience is going to probably have questions, and, just wanted to know what's the best way that they can reach you.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
There's many forms that you'll be able to reach me. Instagram is at Crespi Tax Group. My email is customerservice@crespitaxgroup.com, or you can just head over to my website, crespitaxgroup.com, and you will be able to sign up for a free consultation. We do free consultations, free tax planning as well. We handle businesses, S Corps, C Corps, LLCs, sole proprietorships, partnerships, whatever you need, and then we also handle individual tax returns as well. So feel free to reach out. I'm even open for a conversation if you need it. Again, consultations are free, so I'm always happy to help.
And once again, guys, we definitely appreciate you plugging into the Sustainable Solar podcast. Our podcast was put in place so we could literally do and talk about all things solar, just from different points of view. So we definitely look forward to catching you on the next podcast. Take care, take charge, have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching this video. Please hit the subscribe and hit that bell to be informed about more videos just like this. If you like this video, please like, comment, and share. We would definitely love to hear your thoughts. Take care and have a bright day.